Midwest, episode 230. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 230 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com. Yes, we have a website and it's got all the stuff you might need to keep up with the podcast. It's got the About Us page. If you ever wanted to know about Ricky, Pam, or Scott, we got information there. We've got links to the Patreon, which you don't need to know because you're a patron. But it's also got, hey, if you want to buy a t-shirt, we got t-shirts from back in the day. I think we still have that active. I don't know. If not, we'll have to get on that. We had t-shirts and hoodies and all that good stuff back in the day. If not, we'll get those going again. I haven't bought a hoodie in forever. We got links to the lizards. We got all kinds of stuff there. So check it out, beourguestpodcast.com. But you can also get the show wherever you find podcasts. But if you're a patron, I'm pretty sure that you know where to find the show. But anyway, happy holidays to you. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, you're in the middle of your season. Hope the candles are burning brightly and that your joy is in your heart. You're having a great season with family and friends. Late Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you had a great Christmas with your family and friends, and Happy New Year. We're rolling into the New Year's season here in the middle of this next week. Happy bowl season to everybody who is a football fan like me. How about that Pop-Tarts bowl yesterday? Cinnamon Roll sacrificed himself to the toaster. That was pretty cool. Wild bowl season. Yeah, things are crazy in college football. I promise I won't talk too much about that, but man, the Pop-Tarts Bowl rules all. It's great. Okay, I got to tell you about this. Even if you're not a college football fan, you'll appreciate this. They play a bowl game that is sponsored by Pop-Tarts in Orlando. It gets back to Disney, right? It's played right there in Orlando at the Camping World Stadium. Right. If you fly into Orlando, you actually do fly over the stadium. A lot of times you're coming into MCO. You might not know it, but that's the football stadium you'll see as you fly over. And it was Iowa State playing against Miami, and it was a great game. I mean, thousands of points, big controversy because the Miami quarterback sat out the second half. But beyond that, the MVP of the game got to pick. So they got it down to 3 flavors of Pop-Tarts. That were brought back, I guess, like this wild berry, the cinnamon roll, and I can't remember the other one. There's these 3 flavors of Pop-Tarts, and these mascots, these 3 Pop-Tarts mascots were like all over the field during the game. I mean, constantly during the TV broadcast, like they're taunting referees during like extra points. One was brought back from the dead that sacrificed himself at the end of the last game. He was up on top of the scoreboard in the pregame. I mean, the marketing that this Pop-Tart person does, whoever's in charge of Pop-Tart marketing, they should be making millions of dollars. And I don't say that about a lot of people, but these people, it's capitalism, right? I mean, it's incredible. I have not wanted to eat a Pop-Tart so bad in my life because the costumes are great. They had a Pop-Tart, the cinnamon roll Pop-Tart, God rest his soul, because he sacrificed himself at the end of this game. He was out visiting babies and moms, new moms and new dads in the newborn unit in hospitals before the day before the game in Orlando. Like there's pictures of him going through the newborn unit in hospitals in Orlando. So like these moms had just had babies. They're exhausted. You know, the dad is sitting there exhausted, like on the little couch or the little chair there, holding the little like newborn, probably, a day old, maybe 18 hours old, whatever. You know how I remember that, dude. I didn't know what day of the week it was. I didn't know what time it was. I was so exhausted. I was mentally checked out. Boom. And then a 6-foot tall Pop-Tart rolls in like wanting to get a photo shoot with you. I was so out of it, dude. I thought I was in a fever dream. And these pictures are on social media. It's awesome. I mean, even if you don't like football, you got to love this. The Pop-Tart. Who doesn't love a good toaster pastry? So shout out to the people who were in charge of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I mean, who cares like who played in this game? I mean, it was a great football game. Iowa State played against Miami. They beat them by 1 point. I think it was 42-41. It was amazing. But who cares? The Pop-Tarts were there. And the thing was, like I said, There were 3 flavors. They were out there for the coin toss at the beginning. They were all on the sidelines. Even the sidelines had sprinkles on the sidelines. That was the first game ever to feature sprinkles on the white sidelines of the game, because one of the Pop-Tarts was like a sprinkly Pop-Tart flavor. And so they got them down to 3. Like before the game, the 3 Pop-Tarts come dancing out onto the field. And you know how Pop-Tarts come in that aluminum foil? Yeah, I'm telling you, you got to look this stuff up on social media. They do this kind of exotic dance. Like if a Pop-Tart could do an exotic dance, kind of like a Magic Mike moment, I guess. And they just rip the aluminum foil out like they're little Pop-Tart strippers. I mean, it is hilarious. So you got to check that out. But at the end of the game, the MVP, which was the Iowa State quarterback, gets to pick his favorite flavor, and he picked cinnamon roll, which I would have picked too. That's probably the best of the 3. And so what happens is they sacrifice this mascot. So there's 3 like 6 foot tall like mascot guys. I mean, just like you'd see walking around like Walt Disney World, right? So the 3 of them all like shake hands, like they're all buddies, right? But they bow, the other 2 bow to cinnamon roll because he's now got to go. So they have this gigantic toaster set up at the 50-yard line after the game. You know, the Iowa State team's all cheering because they won the game. They're all happy. They've got the hats on that say, the Pop-Tart Bowl champs, confetti's falling, all that stuff. Huge toaster set up at the 50. It's probably 20 feet tall. Cinnamon roll Pop-Tart guy has to climb this big old ladder, like 15 feet to get to the top of that toaster, stands on it, gets a sign. I forget what the sign says, something like follow your dreams or something. It says, boom, stands on it, gets lowered into the toaster, smoke's going up, fire shooting out of the toaster, and he gets just toasted. I mean, literally toasted, and disappears. And then what happens is a gigantic cinnamon roll Pop-Tart pops out for the team. The team now just destroys it, and he is now eaten. And so he has sacrificed himself, the Iowa State team, to start destroying this gigantic, like 20-foot long cinnamon roll Pop-Tart. I mean, God bless America. This is what gets Mike Rallman excited. Football and Pop-Tarts, the perfect union. It was amazing. So pour one out for the cinnamon roll Pop-Tart today. That's what I'm thinking about here on a Sunday morning. It was beautiful. Even if you don't like football, look it up on social media. Look up Pop-Tart Bowl, and you'll see all these highlights. I promise you, the kids will love it. You'll love it. Grandma will love it. Even if you got a cranky old uncle, they will love this. It is honest to God, one of the best things ever. It was great last year, and they topped it by 10 this year. I don't know what they're going to do next year. It makes me want to go to the game, because they did all kinds of stuff during commercial breaks. They had them doing combine drills and all kinds of stuff. So yes, shout out to the Pop-Tart Bowl. That is what America is all about. So anyway, what are you up to here on this week? During this week here between Christmas and New Year's and, all these celebrations going on. Of course, all the memes are going around right now about this is the week where you just don't know what day of the week it really is. And this is super true, I think, of this year, because with Christmas happening on Wednesday? Yeah, because Christmas Eve was Tuesday. See, I don't know. I know today's Sunday, because Sunday's the day we go to the grocery store, and Sunday's the day I record Mike in the Midwest. We have the call-in show. And I know Monday, tomorrow, we record the podcast on Mondays, and also tomorrow is Mizzou's bowl game. Tomorrow Mizzou plays Iowa, not Iowa State. They play Iowa, the Hawkeyes, in the Music City Bowl in Nashville. So tomorrow's our day. MIZ. It's our big day. It's our last day of the year. It's our last game of the year. We're trying to win our 10th game. Brady Cook, Theo Weiss. We're trying to bring it home. Coach Drink. So I'm excited for tomorrow at 1:30. We'll be watching that right before the podcast at 4:30 Central Time. So hopefully you can join us after the game. I'll be happy if we close out the season with 10 wins. So that's how I know what day of the week it is. Now, we'll be talking kind of about New Year's and Christmas and stuff in the main part of the show, but just kind of reflecting on what we've had going on around here. It was, just kind of just getting by. I don't want to get too much into it because that's kind of the main topic of the show, but just, hanging out here. So Let me hit the feedback because that's going to be the main topic of the show. But I just want to share that Pop-Tart Bowl story because if you're not on social media too much, I don't know how you could have missed this. I'm wondering if it's just in my feed though, because I'm a football fan. My social media is basically Disney and college football. So that's really all it was yesterday. I'm telling you what, look up Pop-Tarts Bowl and you will not be disappointed. I mean, it is glorious. All right, so let's hit the feedback real quick from last week's show. And we have something here from Audra. Audra says, I just joined the Patreon a couple of weeks ago, but I have to say, Mike, this extra segment you do for us absolutely has value. I found the BOGP this year and have enjoyed listening to every single episode I could find. It's been a rough year for me, and I want to tell you, truly, it has been a huge blessing to escape into Disney with you all. Thanks so much for all you do. It is very appreciated. See, I don't read these until I come on right here to do these shows. I don't go onto the Patreon feedback page until I do these shows because I want it to be kind of live. And Audra, right now, I just gotta say thank you so much for that. I'm gonna tell you a story that I had talking to my dad over Christmas because I get to hang out with him a little bit over Christmas. And this super hits home. So thank you for joining the Patreon, Audra. Thank you for finding the show. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the big shows. And you said it's been a little bit of a rough year. I hope 2025 is better for you. I hope it's I hope it's your best year. And thank you for taking the time, not only to join us on Patreon so we can keep doing the shows, but mostly just for supporting our show and for being a part of our community. I hope you join us over on the Discord. So come on over to beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. Just hit that when you join, you'll be in the welcome place. I'll give you a nice welcome and just come on and post all the Trisha will tell you. Post every day, just whatever you want to post about, just life or jump in one of the channels you like. And we're just kind of all, it's like our big cheers. We just all like to hang out there. You don't have to post every day, but whenever you feel like it, just join in and be a part of the community, be a part of the family. But we're glad you're here. And I just have to say thank you for making my day better. You truly made my day. And Trisha, speaking of Trisha, she says, I find this community invaluable and worth at least $5 a month. Your Santa episode spoke to my very essence. My dad engineered magic during the holidays. As a kid, Santa took me on a treasure hunt through the house, was almost caught going up the chimney. I saw his boots ascending and magically started a fire in the fireplace right before my eyes. My daughter was enlightened by a peer this year, but we had been Santa's helpers for her much along the lines of my dad. When she realized how much the helpers do, she burst into tears and acknowledged we must really love me. I think that going to Disney brings that magic that I experienced as a kid back to life. So last week, in case you don't remember, the topic of the show last week was, I called it Santa is Love Personified, because the more I think back on it, the idea of Santa, I think, truly is just that Santa is love personified. It's the idea that somebody, and that the essence is that there's a being out there that comes in and loves you so much that things happen, that things are under the tree. And because things are under the tree, or, if you celebrate a different holiday, the Hanukkah gifts or whatever you celebrate, somebody must love you an awful lot that they sacrifice throughout the year to make sure that those special moments happen for you. And as a kid, you don't realize that because that's not your job. Your job as a kid is to be a kid. And one of the things I know that Pam and I really, because I didn't know what I was doing as a parent, right? Paige is my stepdaughter. I call her my daughter because she is my daughter, 100% my daughter, but technically she's my stepdaughter. I came into the picture when she was 4 years old, but we taught at the same school. We taught next door to each other. So Paige was always there. Like, she was always in my classroom next door playing on my computer because I had the cool computer games because I was a tech nerd. And so I always hacked my computer. So if she wanted to play something cool on the computer, I always downloaded it illegally and put it on my computer so she could play it. So she was always, I was like the cool uncle first, right? And, she was always hanging with me at school. And I'd always take her to the office, and when I had to make copies, we'd run and do stuff all the time. And, so it's always been a cool relationship. But the thing was that Pam and I always had this rule was that we were always going to make sure that our kids stayed kids as long as possible. And when we said that, what we meant by that was we were going to always shield them from the outside world as long as we could. We were going to let them believe anything as long as we could. We were going to let them be kids as long as they could. And the thing, I think a lot of that is that we both taught elementary school, and we saw so many of our students have to deal with adult situations way too early. You know, too many of our kids didn't believe in things that they should have. You know, we taught sixth grade, and we saw kids that were way younger than the kids we taught that just had they were dealing with such heavy stuff, and they, you know, like they had lost their innocence of childhood way too early. And fortunately for us, with both of our kids, and you know, kids can be cruel, right? I mean, when they're a little bit older and they still believe and they still have that innocence in their heart, there can always be the mean kid who thinks they've got the world figured out, who will take that and use that as a weapon. They'll weaponize that against your kid because, oh, you know, you're not cool because of this and that. But we always had the rule we were going to let our kids, we're going to keep our kids as long as possible. And I think it turned out well for us. I mean, I know that they did have a couple of bullies that tried to, you know, get on them because, oh, you're such a baby, you know, and so forth. And I'm sure that that's happened probably to your kids, or maybe it happened to you. I mean, I believe, I think as a Disney fan, I don't know. I'm just, this show is always me rambling, right? This is like my therapy session with you guys. And cause I feel safe with you guys. But I think as Disney fans, we tend to be the people who believe in magic. You know, I saw a thing. May you never be too old to not to not peer into the sky on Christmas Eve. I still believe that, right? You never know. You might see Santa up there when you're 51. You don't know. You know, like we go to Christmas Eve service and it gets out at midnight on Christmas Eve. You know, like we blow out the candle after we sing Silent Night, leave the church. It's midnight. It's Christmas Eve. So it's Christmas morning when we leave church. Do I peek up in the sky? I do. I mean, you never know. I've read those books. I've seen the movies. You never know. I mean, it's my heart. It's my spirit, you know, and I hope my kids always have that. I think it's because I had such a good childhood. I think it's because I was lucky. I didn't have a bad childhood. I had great memories. I got read the right stories. I watched the right TV specials. I got to see the good movies. I got nurtured by my grandparents. I think that's a blessing. So anyway, that's kind of where I am there. And I think that's, Trisha, kind of what you were saying there too. All right. So, and shout out to Margie. Happy New Year to you, who's joined us over on YouTube. All right. So what I want to talk about real quick was kind of how our Midwest Christmas looked this year, just so you know how we celebrate. So on Christmas Eve, we went to my in-laws, and I don't think I post a picture? I think I took one. I'll have to post it. Maybe I'll post it over in the Discord. Of course, we go over to my in-laws on Christmas Eve, and they live out in a city called Moscow Mills. It's not in Russia. It's about 25 or 30 minutes north of us here in Lincoln County, Missouri. And we just all get together. It's you know, my in-laws, so it's my wife's parents. She has 3 sisters and a niece. We have about 20, 25 people out there, presents everywhere. Just basically appetizers. Everybody kind of sits on top of each other, and we all open presents, and it's a hoot and a half. And so loud that you can't stand it. But the best part for me was Paige was home from Chicago. Paige came home a couple days earlier. We made a gajillion Christmas cookies. I'm still destroying those things. I posted a picture of those on social media. The best part about the Christmas cookies, if you saw the picture, is that I get to put just the chocolate chip cookies. I put the chocolate chip cookies in my grandma's old tin that is over 40 years old, because when my grandma passed, that's the one thing I wanted to keep from grandma was her cookie tin. Because when I was growing up, I mean, from the time I was like 6 or 7, she always kept cookies in this tin. It was from Schnucks. It's our local grocery store. And whenever you went to grandma's, when you went into her kitchen in the upper left-hand pantry, upper left, Whenever you walked in her house, first thing anybody would do, myself, my dad, my uncle, Randy, my cousins, when they were in town, you would always walk in the house. First thing, boom, upper left-hand pantry, grab that tin. It has a sound, a distinct sound. Punk. You pop that metal top off the tin. And there was always grandma's chocolate chip cookies in there. So when she passed, I took the tin, and every Christmas, Pam makes chocolate chip cookies and we put them in there. So right now there's chocolate chip cookies in the tin. So I've been tearing those up. There's other kinds too. So when Paige came home on the 23rd, they made all kinds of Christmas cookies. That was great. So we did Christmas Eve, exchanged all the gifts, had all the dollar rolls, all that at my in-laws. Then we came home for a little bit, did Christmas Eve services, candlelight services at church on Christmas Eve. Came home, went to bed. Christmas morning, got up. Santa had arrived. That was pretty cool. Got to exchange gifts. Thank goodness that I have two wonderful daughters at this point that can both drive, that both like to shop. So they were Santa's little helpers for me. I did buy one thing on my own. And I know you're going to say this is the stupidest gift ever, but Pam had been asking for an air fryer. So I got her a Cuisinart air fryer, which we haven't tried out yet, but she said she wanted to try one of these suckers out. So we'll try that out soon. I don't know. We'll see. My big gift was I've been asking for this thing for like since it would not work in our old house. So we got married in 2006. So it's been 18 years. It wouldn't fit in our old house, and it would fit in this house. We moved into this house in 2019, and we got a space for it. And I've been dropping hints since 2019. And I kept saying, we don't need an expensive one, but I would love to have one, because I had one in my old house before we got married, just because it came with the old house when I lived in my old house a long time ago, because it was just in there because I couldn't get it out when I bought the old house. I wanted a pool table, and I just wanted a cheap one, because like in my youth group when I was a kid, they had one in the basement of the church, and I'm terrible at pool. Anyway, the girls came through with a little pub style pool table, like a 7-foot pool table. Dude, it's awesome. So I've been playing a lot of pool. I'm not a pool shark. I've learned that I'm terrible. My dad came over and we played pool, and it was like two Baptist guys playing pool. We played a game of 8-ball, which took like an hour for us to finish one rack of 8-ball. It was horrible. If anybody knows how to play pool and comes into my basement, you'll hustle me for everything I've got. I'm going to get better, because with me, I'm competitive. I'm going to be good eventually. Or else I'm going to lose a finger because I have such bad blisters. But I got some Amazon gift cards. I got an Amazon gift card from Magic for Less for my Christmas present. And I've bought 4 new pool cues. And I got my diamond shaped, I don't even know what you call it, like ball racker thing. So I can play 9-ball instead of just the triangle for 8-ball. So I'm going to play that game, and a cue stick holder thing so that they're not leaning up against the wall and getting Pam all mad because the chalk gets on the wall. So it's going to be fun, but I'm excited for that. So, and also Paige got me this. Every year she gets me gear for the team she's working with. So I got my UIC hoodie from her team. So I'm excited because they're playing their first conference game today against Missouri State. So I got that on today. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, it was a good Christmas. The girls we got Pam more stuff than that. I got the Cuisinart. We got her. Went out. I said, take my card, and they got her some like shoes and like sweatshirts and stuff like that. Stuff she likes, clothes and makeup and stuff. I can't pick this stuff out. That's good news by having 2 girls. They'll go out and shop for you. But it was from all of us. So that's kind of what we did. And then, so here's the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick, because again, we had a lot of shows this week. I know. Here's the thing. All my other podcasts I listen to, no shows this week. Actually, a lot of my shows that I listen to will have no shows next week. It's a bummer. This is kind of a dry spell for podcasts. What did we have last week? 5 new shows. So I know this one probably shouldn't be too long because we put out a ton. But here's the deal. My dad asked me a funny question when we were sitting down. We were talking about this podcast, or we always talk about either his job or, doing the podcast. He loves the podcast. He doesn't listen to it, but he likes the idea that he helped me start it way back in 2008. And he brought up a question that I never thought about. He asked me, he said, so how's the show going? I'm like, great, rolling right along. Never really given much thought. We're just doing our thing. He's like, when you going to end the podcast? I was like, what? He's like, when you going to, land the plane? When you going to bring it in? It's like, I don't know. I'd never thought about that. I like doing the show. He's like, I'm saying, he's like, I'm not trying to say you got to end the show. He's like, but have you ever thought about landing that plane, like bringing that thing in? I was like, nah, not really. I've never really given it a second, thought. I was like, I love doing the show. I was like, I love it. I was like, a lot of shows have come and gone, shows that were great. I talked about WDW today. I thought that show would never end. I was like, I love that show. I was like, a lot of my shows, many of them have come and gone, but I was like, I've never thought about ours ending. He's like, oh no, you just keep going. But then, I was like, why would he say that? Like, I hated that he said that. And we had this conversation and I said, here's what it boils down to for me is one is that we can do this with the Patreon, we can take care of it. Like right now with the Patreon support, we can make this happen. They did double our pricing for hosting everything last year, but with Patreon and, I can cover the other stuff. It's feasible still to do this. So as long as you guys can still support it over here, we're good. So we're still good. It's expensive, but we're still good. But here's the other thing. I love doing the show. I told him this. This is my fun thing. Like I don't golf. I don't go out and drink beer. Everybody has their thing, right? And that they do for fun. I mean, I hang out with my girls, and we go to LS Teca on Friday nights. I get to go to football games and watch Mallory cheer. I do that kind of stuff. But for me, one of my big hobbies and one of my cool things I get to do every week is on Monday nights, I get to sit down and talk to Scott, Ricky, Pam, combination of those three. And we get to talk about Disney. We get to goof. And then on Wednesday nights, I get to talk to somebody new about their trip. And here's what I told my dad. We've done a ton of trip reports over the past almost 17 years. We've done a ton because we do one every week. But the deal is, for the person I get to talk to every Wednesday night for the Monday shows, that trip report is their unique trip. That is the most important trip in the world for that person. And I never forget that. It's not just one trip report out of 52 that year. It is the most important trip for that particular guest. And I love hearing about it, right? I love hearing their backstory. When I ask the question, why are you a Disney fan? Like, where did it start? I love hearing that because it's so different for everybody. Did somebody come into it in college because they dated somebody, or, they got yanked into it because they married into a Disney family and they're like, oh my God, this is so nuts. Or was this something because Nana gave them a Pooh Bear when they were 2 years old? And that I love hearing those kind of stories because we're all so different, but we're all kind of the same too. Does it matter because you're from Nebraska? Does it matter because you're from Spain? It's so cool. I love hearing the backstories and I love hearing the stories of the trip. Was Tepanito your jam, or did you hate Tepanito because, oh my gosh, I hated sitting next to strangers? And we could all learn because it's going to make our next trips either better or help us avoid the pitfalls, to not do that on our trips, or I didn't think about that. I think that there's a lot to be learned from every Monday trip report. So I enjoy those too, because actually every time at the end of the show, I'm like, man, that was cool talking to that person. I got to kind of basically make a new friend every time. So I enjoy that too. So, when he asked me that question, it kind of caught me off guard. Like, I don't ever want this show to end. Like, why did you ask me that? But, I don't see the show ending. So let's don't think about that. So that's kind of my philosophy on that. When he said that, I was like, stop. Because then I turned it on him, right? He's been working for the Rams since, I don't know, 1990. I mean, since they were in St. Louis. The Rams came to St. Louis in 1995 is when they started in St. Louis, and they were on the radio station in St. Louis that he worked for, KLOU 103.3. And then when they moved to LA, he just started doing the job in LA. And so I asked him, I'm like, well, it's weird. Like, right. You work for the LA Rams, but you live 2 minutes from my house in St. Charles, Missouri. Like, are you going to keep doing the Rams indefinitely? You're 71 years old. And so every time the Rams have a home game, you have to go all the way to Los Angeles. Like when the Rams were in St. Louis, you just went downtown. It's weird that for a home game, you have to travel 2,000 miles instead of 25. And he's like, here's my dad's answer. He's like, I love doing the Rams. He's like, I love it. He's like, I love being a radio engineer. He's like, I love the people I work with. I love that I get to go into football stadiums. I love the game. I love the challenge of setting up the booth. I love the environment. I love that I might get to go to a Super Bowl again. My dad we're so much alike. He said basically what he said, and he didn't say it in these exact words, is that he would do it for free. He loves it. Like he doesn't want to give it up because he likes the challenge of it and the people he gets to work with. And I love that answer because that's basically the answer I gave back to him. Like, I love to get to do this show. This show's a privilege. People listen to it. Like, this show would not be a show if it wasn't for the reciprocal nature of your support on Patreon, for one thing, but also that you take the time to listen. If nobody listens to the big show, there's no show. And if you don't come on the Monday shows, there's no show. If you don't write listener questions, there's no show. This is totally, if there's nobody on the Discord, there's no show. There's no community. There's no lizards. This is all us. This is all us. And it's taken 17 years to get here. And there's no way I'm giving this up. I'm going to give my 100%. That's why we don't miss shows. I don't want to miss a show because I don't want to let you down. I never want to let you down. I want to give you your $5 worth if you're a patron, but I don't want to shortchange anybody that takes the time to listen, even if they're not a patron. I want to give everybody 100% all the time. If I'm sick, I don't care. You know, I just want to be here and give still 85% if I have it and try to pretend like it's 100% and just be here for y'all because I appreciate y'all so much. Anyway, that's a lot of yakking. This was going to be a super short show because of the 5 shows this week. It was a lot. It was a ton, but we got a live show tonight. Call-in show. Scott's going to be here. We'll have the shows this week, just like normal. So join us tomorrow, but be there tonight. Let's talk some Disney as we wrap up 2024 and talk about what you're going to remember from this past year at the Disney destinations. I'll remember the treasure. That was pretty cool, but there's other stuff too. So give us a call tonight, 7:00 Eastern, 6:00 Central. Let's wrap 2024 on the live call-in show. But until then, hope you guys have a great week. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.